Well, as the theme park battles between Disney World and Universal Studios are continuing to heat up as Epic Universe is opening May 22nd of this year, Disney has been under fire from a lot of outlets, mainstream media, big-time publications like the New York Times and others, talking openly about Disney's price hikes and how expensive it is to go to Disney, especially compared to just a few years ago. And this is something Disney has been defensive about. They released a statement not long after a Wall Street Journal report came out that people inside of Disney themselves were becoming concerned with the price hikes as the guest intent to return was dropping according to internal survey numbers. But just the other day, there was a Disney shareholder meeting where Bob Iger was asked about the prices of theme park tickets, and he had something to say about this. So we're going to read this article here and give some thoughts on it. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic, and this is from Blog Mickey, and it says, Disney CEO Bob Iger addresses concerns of high prices for theme park tickets. In a shareholder meeting this afternoon, Disney CEO Bob Iger addressed recent concerns about the rising cost of a ticket to the Disney parks. Earlier this year, a Wall Street Journal report said that Disney was concerned about high ticket prices as guest intent to return scores reportedly dropped. A day later, the Walt Disney Company issued a press release that responded to that pricing criticism. Now Iger was asked about pricing concerns again. The question from a shareholder was about Disney's ability to keep up with rising attendance and whether Disney is concerned about increased pricing. Iger said that it is a question that he thinks about all the time.
That doesn't make sense.
Iger started by noting that demand is strong at the theme park, saying that he visited Walt Disney World earlier this month and saw the crowds at the theme parks, resorts, and Disney Springs. Iger also spoke to the notion of value, saying that the value of a Disney theme park visit is tremendous, especially when compared to other entertainment offerings such as sporting events and concerts. Iger also discussed expansion efforts at Disney parks around the world, saying that there are more projects underway now than ever before in the company's history. I wonder why. Could have something to do with increased competition, but I don't know. Iger says the expansions are meant to not only improve capacity at the theme parks, but to also increase value. Shifting to the question of pricing concerns, Iger repeated information that we've heard from executives before, honing in on the lowest tier ticket pricing at Disneyland, and that it hasn't increased since before the COVID-19 shutdown. Iger then said Disney is seeing strong guest satisfaction scores and intent to visit scores that are very high. So it's interesting because on first reaction, you would look at his statements about the guest intent to come and guest satisfaction, because you could say, okay, is the Wall Street Journal lying when they said that people inside of Disney were growing concerned because the guest intent to return numbers were not looking good? Or is Bob Iger lying when he talks about the guest, intent to come? What he may be doing is kind of playing a little bit of an optics game here, because he may not be talking about the exact same number. He did not say guest intent to return. He just said guest intent to come. Now, this is me just speculating, but those could be different things, as the guest intent to return are people that have gone, because if you've been, do you want to go back? Which that could be much more of a concern. People intending to visit, that is potential, I suppose. It may not be people that are going to come, but that people are interested in coming. So perhaps maybe he's playing some semantics with the numbers there. So I'm not sure which one on that, because I don't have that information, but it very well could be two different things he's talking about, but he's not saying specifically. They're trying to basically play a little bit of an optics game and not outright saying that that report is wrong, but just using different numbers. I don't know anything about the guest satisfaction scores. I have heard that those are not as high as they used to be. I would assume that if it is true that the guest intent to return is dropping, that the guest satisfaction scores would also not be as high, but I don't have that information, so I cannot speak to that. And then when he's talking about comparing, the price of going to Disney to sporting events and concerts, it's a pretty good pivot, because he's not wrong. Disney has gotten more expensive, and we'll look here in a minute about things you used to get included in your trip and how expensive tickets have gotten. But comparing it to these other types of entertainment options, he's not wrong. And just to see if this does, hash out if this is true, we're going to take a look at an Orlando Magic game, given that's in Orlando, see what the ticket pricing there is. Orlando Magic versus the Los Angeles Lakers. You're looking at the starting ticket prices are $174.50. This is probably nosebleed. And then if you want even lower, let's say I'm sure best seats go to $7,000 if you want the on the floor. So, comparing it to sporting events is probably a good move. I mean, if you're talking about how much time you spend at a sporting event. You're probably talking, maybe a game runs 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. Whereas you go to Disney World, you can spend all day. You do have rides included, even if you're getting, lightning lanes and things like that. It's probably, in terms of an hour by hour, what you get out of it, you are getting more for your money in a theme park. But let's compare it to a concert. Now, concerts are variable. It depends on who's playing, where they're playing, and things like that. But let's just take one of the biggest concerts out there that's ever been. Let's look at a Taylor Swift concert. And I'm not a person that goes to concerts a lot, so this pricing, I know it's high, but I looked it up here real quick. When Taylor Swift was on tour, the average concert ticket price was about $529.
Run now!
So obviously, you look at a concert, that's insane pricing, and I'm sure it can be even more expensive depending on the types of tickets you get. I don't know about, other venues or other bands and musical acts, but I know it's very expensive. So him pivoting to talking about those things is a very good optic move. And Bob Iger, while I do not think he is a great CEO, I've never been a big fan of Bob Iger and the way that he's run things, he is pretty slick. He's able to kind of he's like a politician. He can kind of take an answer and put it over here, and he's changing the goalpost, if you will. But I think what becomes really evident is what would the value be compared to just a few years ago. And I think if you just compare it, again, here are the numbers and here what we can look at when it comes to ticket prices and what you used to get, and we'll take a look at that. If we just look at ticket prices here, you can see on this chart, just makes it easy to read. Since 1971, you look at 2000s, it was still under $50 back in 2000, base ticket at least. It hit $100 somewhere around 2015, and then got to $150. Now it is just under like $199 for Magic Kingdom on the busiest time of year on a base ticket. Now, again, that does not include lightning lanes or anything like that. That's just your base ticket levels. And I think the best thing to illustrate what you used to get included in a Disney resort vacation is in this commercial. And it was just one of the better commercials I think they've ever run. But you can see, I'm just going to play a quick snippet here of seeing the things you used to get compared to what you get now. And I think that, there's a good reason he's comparing the value to sporting events and concerts and not specifically based on what you used to get at Disney themselves.
Hey, check this out. It's called a Magic Band. Another cool perk you get when you stay in a Disney Resort hotel.
No longer included. That's extra.
What's FastPass Plus, you ask? Come on, I'll show you.
Obviously, most people know this, but no longer included. It was Genie Plus. Now it is Lightning Lane, Multipass, Single Pass, and Premier. At the very minimum, if you do the Multipass, it's an extra somewhat $30 per person per day. Single passes, depending on the ride. Premier passes, upwards of almost $500 per day. So that no longer is a perk that's included either.
Flying into Orlando Airport? Then you get to experience Disney's Magical Express service.
No longer a thing. That also is gone.
Take a monorail or a boat or a bus. There's no fee, no charge. There's no mess, no fuss.
To be fair, that's still included. So that's still there. Oh my gosh, that song is illegal to play now.
Inappropriate!
So first off, I think that's one of the better commercials they've ever run in terms of like old school Disney feel, I suppose you could say. But the main marketing of that entire commercial, all these things as a major selling of going on a Disney vacation and outside of the free transportation still on property, none of those things are either exist anymore or they now are charged for. So what Iger is saying here, he's not wrong about. So I just want to put that out there. He's not wrong about it, but he's not going to draw the comparison to ticket prices 5-10 years ago or, before COVID. I mean, things have changed a lot since COVID in terms of not only ticket prices, but again, no fast passes, magic bands are gone, Magical Express is gone. A lot of the perks you got for staying on property, going to Disney are no longer part of the base ticket package that you pay. A lot of these things are now extras. So shifting the narrative to comparing it to professional sports, concerts is a good move optically, because I do agree you are getting more value at a Disney theme park, a day in a parks, than you are at those things if you look at it on a per hour basis. So he's not wrong there. But I do think it's going to be very interesting going in not only this year, but the coming years with the Epic Universe coming online, with all the things Universal's doing, how Disney fares and how they respond. Let's say if Epic Universe does impact them, they lose attendance from it. I think one thing that they'll do, and I think they will go through with this, we talked about the rumor out there in a video a couple weeks ago about how they're looking, the rumor is this variable ticket pricing model, much like an airline, where they can charge more on high demand days, but also potentially you could lower ticket prices on low demand days. And I think Disney will probably do it for two reasons. One of which is I'm not going to be surprised if this year, come October, usually they do yearly price increases right before the end of the fiscal year. I'm not going to be surprised if Disney actually doesn't announce a raise in ticket prices. They leave the base level tickets at where they are because they would just charge more on these high demand days. But also it would give them some cover if Epic Universe is having an impact on them. If Universal is continuing to eat into market share, they could lower ticket prices on lower demand days to try and keep people in the parks. I think that's one of the things that this could do for them. And it also potentially could take heat off them because if they come out and just announce to higher ticket prices and they're already up near that $200 per day mark, they may not want to at least openly say they're going over that, but they could just do it on subjective days when it's really busy already and they could get that money for it, like say during Christmas and things. You know, people have talked about Disney ticket prices going up for years. I've never recalled Disney being so seemingly defensive about it until recently. They seem to be really going out of their way to talk about it, really defend it with all this sort of heat they're getting about ticket pricing. Again, it's not just from people on YouTube or, people on, social media. It is Wall Street Journal, New York Times, major publications really openly talking about this. And it's become much more the narrative, I think, even with the general public of just how expensive it has gotten to go to Disney. Because again, they brought it up, and I figured maybe they wouldn't because the shareholder meetings here, they can kind of screen these questions sometimes. I think in years past, it was much more of a, I guess you could say an open thing. And I think they've gotten more controlling on who they allow to ask questions because they obviously don't want some questions out there. It was interesting. There were no questions about Epic Universe because you would think that's something shareholders might have some questions about in terms of how do you think you're going to fare during all this, but there were no questions on that. So I do think that was some controlled questions out there. But I just want to make this video about it because I just found it very interesting. Just again, Disney being seemingly on the defensive about their ticket pricing is something I have not seen until a lot recently. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on, see how that continues to play out the rest of this year and the coming years for sure. But either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, do you think that going to Disney World is a better value than going to pro sporting events or concerts? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.